Be dead ass. Okay, this is another video that's going to be a second part of to teaching white people their history. The truth behind your origins, where you came from, how you got here, what you did, all the lies you told. This is to dispel all of that. So and this is for all, I love to tell this to white supremacists because you the ones that get on my nerves the most. I'm trying to show you that there was no such thing as white superiority, and it still ain't. Okay? I'm showing you what really transpired in history that debunks your white superiority. All right? New views, women, these incubation babies. I'm just saying because y'all talk junk. You got to understand, you out here killing people in the sky, in the guys, and shooting folk and hurting folk, talking about some white power all the time. Well, let me show you how it wasn't no such thing. Wasn't no such thing. Not at all. Let's go to your peonage. All right. This is inside the Jackson track battle over the peonage labor camps of southern Alabama. Again, labor camps in southern Alabama in 1906. All right. Okay, Aaron Reynolds delves into the relationship between peonage and Alabama forest, exploring the history of post-slavery labor, harsh conditions. Again, that word slave ain't got nothing to do with black folk. It has we are not Slavs. You are Slavs. Slavic people are white. I am not a Slav. I belong to America. I cannot be a slave. I can be a laborer, but I can't be a slave because that derives from your lineage, not mine. Your race, not mine. So I can't be a slave. All right, harsh conditions in labor camps and the efforts of journalists, Department of Justice investigators to end the peonage system in the early 20th century. Now, for whatever reason, when they say 20th century, they mean 1900s. That's so weird, because to me, 20th and 20 mean 20. You mean in the year 2000? That's me. That's my head. So when people say certain things, I'll be like, what? All right, so inside the Jackson tract, the battle over peonage labor camps in southern Alabama 1906 was selected for Southern Spaces series. Landscapes the I cannot say this. Y'all see the word. Ecology. I can't say it. It's not going to let me say it at all. My tongue ain't going to do it. Okay. If you can say it of the U.S. South. I can't say that at all. Watch it come back to me later. Collections of innovative and I don't know why, and interdisciplinary publications about natural and built environments. It's not coming to me at all. Y'all know what that say, okay? Landscape and it's because I never seen it like that. Ecologies of the U.S. I can't say it, okay? I'm done, okay? It says, on a warm spring day in 1904, former governor of Maryland, the lumberman E. Jackson, along with several associates, traveled to Alabama to view their extensive holding of southern yellow pine forests. The party took private train car owner by the president of the Louisiana Nashville Railroad, Milton H. Smith, and Montgomery 8 miles south to Opt. And in the line, American lumbermen wrote to the men, spent 2 days in the timbered Chad in fine suits and surrounded by industry journalists. They walked the forest and discussed plans to establish a model sawmill plant in a company town named Lockhart, which is funny enough. That's my family's name, in my family's bloodline. We are Lockharts. Funny enough. And he was rich. So I wonder if he has anything to do with it. He actually had an Indian servant that they reclassified as Negro. We have that document. But, okay. Okay, Standard Oil magnate Charles Lockhart, the plan to transform this parcel of southern Alabama forest. All right, ain't nobody got time for this. All right, the summer of 1906, 1 year after Theodore Roosevelt established the U.S. Forest Service, appointed, Guilford Pincott to implement a conservationist policy. A conflict over workers' rights, environmental condition erupted inside the Jackson Company. Forest Company claimed to base their Alabama operation on principles of forestry conversations, and pronounced a committee to bring economic development to southern Alabama. All right, so this white man right here that one would assume owned something didn't. He was a labor man in the Jackson tract outside Lockhart, Alabama. America, lumberman, lumberman, he's a laborer, right? Indentured servant, 1907, part 1 of June 1907, Forest History Society archive. This white man with his top hat and his black on is a laborer, okay? Yet, when officials in the DOJ received complaints from families of immigrant workers who went missing after taking forest industry jobs, a legal, intellectual, and physical battle ignited. I don't know why I'm doing this. Simultaneously, several immigrant workers subjected to the forest's harsh environment and suffering abuse from violent wood bosses, defined the labor foremen and their bloodhounds escaped into the wood and eventually notified federal authorities. The men accused labor manager Harlan and his forestmen of using forced landscapes to entrap laborers and conceal debt peonage and physical violence. All right, so I'm saying all that to say, you remember how white people be like, oh, we sent out dogs and hounds to slave catchers. No, that was you. Dogs and hounds were being sent after and taken in and trapped as slaves. That was you. Again, another destiny swap. We gonna get into it. This gonna get deep. Okay, this gonna get deep. The Peonage Act of 1867, which outlawed, mind you, slavery was abolished in 1865, right? These indentured servants contracts were terminated, right? So these people were forced laborers. That's why they're calling them laborers and not indentures anymore, right? Because the indentured servitude, my ear is itching up a storm. The indentured contracts were terminated in 1865 when slavery was abolished in America, which is the same thing as indentured servitude. But anyway, going on. Okay. So they said the Peonage Act of 1867, which outlawed forced labor. All right, investigation shown, however, environmental labor conditions inside the Jackson tract contribute to conflict between workers, foremen, federal deputies, and reveal the extent of the peonage labor. All right, we going up. Jackson tract. Governor E. Jackson of Maryland, Methodist, Republican, and conservationists. Jesus was born in Somerset, Maryland in 1836. I heard conservationists. Ooh, my tongue ain't wanting to say it, y'all. He grew up on his father's farm, acquired a modest education, founded a country store near the town of Delmar. After the Civil War, Jackson established a flooring mill in Baltimore, which by 1870 was leading business in the city. Now they're going to try to tell you this man was white. It's a lie. Slavics were slaves. Cut it out. Dead ass. A lot of this wealth that they claim they got, they did not have. This is the reason for why the KKK was constructed. So do not believe them. Do not believe white people anytime they tell you they had wealth prior to the KKK getting up there. They did not. It was all a lie. All of it. I don't believe them because of all of what they stole. I don't believe none. Prove it. He bought a Washington D.C. factory and made, these are niggas. In the Gilded Age, we were very, very wealthy. I'm talking about black folk. All right. I'm just being honest. I don't mean to be biased, but I'm being honest because I know history the way I do. Anything white people say about their success is all a lie to me. Once you tell one lie, there's nothing else I believe you saying. Nothing. You told every single lie. If once you read this, I read this whole article, and if you were to take the time to read it, it contradicts everything you said about your success and wealth in America. It also contradicts your whole slave crap, all of it. It undoes all of it. You try to enforce white superiority even when you're supposed to be telling the truth. You got to get over that. All right, here we go. Baltimore, let's go. Chicago fairs. All right, however, significant quantities of southern pine went into the construction of the 1892 Chicago World Fair, and by 1893, 41% of the nation's softwood came from the South. Industry, blah, 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 blah. But we don't need to know that. All right, there go to Lockhart, Alabama, American Lumberman, 1907. This is the Jackson plant. This is where people were. This is the Jackson plant in the technologies. Some of the house. This is the Lockhart, Alabama, Alexander Irving, My Life in Peonage, Appleton's Magazine, July 1907-05. Let's see. Let's go. You guys can take the time and pause it if you want to and read it yourself. I'm just going to read some of this. Okay, foreign contract labor. In the early 1900s, Jackson hired labor agents such as Sigma, Schwartz, Frank, and Miller Company. As Camario Ahu will tell you, the name Schwartz derived, I believe he said, from the word Schwarthy. So if that man's name was Schwartz, he definitely wasn't a white man. Or New York City, I'm just saying. Recruit European immigrants, laborers for Jackson tract. Foreign immigrants, workers. There were white people who owned businesses. I just don't know when, if at any of these times. The Jackson labor companies exploited thousands of foreign contract laborers, concealed its abusive practice. The company used peonage as both timber, naval stories. Federal investigators and muckraker journalists began to condemn the labor industry for exploitation of workers, wasteful practice, lousy, I don't know how to say that. Fair capitalism, however you say that. Reform sought to expose a new slavery in the U.S. South, arguing that the 1867 Peonage Act prohibited any voluntary or involuntary servitude if retained through indebtedness or threat of violence. In the 1906, Alexander Irvine, the writer of the Appleton Magazine, went undercover in the Jackson lumber camp. In My Life in Peonage, this is an article he wrote, In My Life in Peonage, Irving wrote that Lockhart was a town where men were a town where men were parts of a machine to grind out profit for men who never saw the place, who never sensed its dull, brutal life. The relationship between the Alabama forest peonage labor began on the streets corners of New York and Philadelphia, where labor agents operated within networks of ethnic migration chains to exploit pools of unemployed immigrant workers. In 1906, the Jackson Lumber Company's expansion in Alabama led to hire labor agent Sigmund S. Schwartz, who kept an office at First Street in Manhattan in the heart of the southern Eastern European immigrant neighborhoods. All right, so here are these peons, right? These peon slaves, and it's titled under this picture of them, Men in Greenwich Streets, New York, tagged and waiting transportation to the labor camps of southern of the South, sorry. And so remember how y'all lied and again Destiny Swap, where you said y'all beat and whipped and brand us? Nah, you were branded. As a matter of fact, you were tagged. And just like the Mexicans wait outside to be picked up and transported to wherever people want them to work, that was the same conditions in which white people were in New York City. Immigrant laborers, Greenwich Street, New York, New York. Alexander Irving, My Life in Peonage. Appleton Magazine, you can go read it, August 1907, page 193. Then you had another group of white folk, all right, laborers, right, shipboard, ground for lumber camp. They bound for the lumber camp to the south, right? Labor en route to the Jackson Tract, Atlantic Ocean. Remember that good old transatlantic slave trade bull that you fed us? Baby, that was you. Atlantic Ocean, Alexander Irving, My Life and Peonage. You were sitting there waiting to be transported. There was some black folk there. This looked like a black folk to me. The rest of them white folks. And the little white boy. Why they hiding their face for? They was definitely hiding their face. Ain't what they picture taking. All right. Eastern immigrants neighborhoods, along with recruits such as Smith Company, Frank and Miller Company. Schwartz recruited thousands of workers of Southern forest industry jobs. Jackson paid labor agents cash fees of $3 for each man they sent to Lockhart. Workers became commoditized, bodies to agents. And I don't know how to say that either. I'm sorry, for real, my tongue ain't trying to do it. But anyways, I feel not right not saying it at all. Okay, but it says anyway. Okay, they were taken to labor tracking networks. Agents recruited transport workers to varying national origins, cities such as New York, Philadelphia, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Alabama. All right, that's not what I was getting into. Labor agents used strategies, recruitment. First, they operated within the immigrants' population, blah, 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 etc., blah, 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 blah. Labor recruiters lured workers, often from rural hinterlands of Eastern and Southern Europe. Okay, yeah, they letting you know where they got them from. Where do these workers come from? With story of easy labor and comfortable climates. Workers claim Schwartz told us good stories about work in the South, promising free transportation and $1.50 per day. Schwartz told Harry Korsinski that he would be rapidly advanced and that it was a nice country in all respects. A splendid chance. Joseph Schwartz recruited Lord Benny, I don't know how to say this thing, Grobert, a Romanian, by describing South as a nice country and easy work. He told him Georgia Pencil Factory. Another New York recruiter, Frank and Miller Company, pledged skilled labor positions in Georgia, Alabama, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Bulgarian to do masonry work in Georgia. All right, these are the boxcar quarters. Remember, incubation baby, those orphan train babies also had white Slavic workers on it. Camp and the crew, boxcar quarters at Jackson Company Camp outside Lockhart, Alabama. Alexander Irvine, My Life in Peonage. Appleton Magazine, July 1907, July 3rd, 1907. You can go check it out, read the article, whatnot, whoop-de-whoop. Inside the boxcar, they showed you. Now, inside this boxcar, outside Lockhart, Alabama, Alexander, whatever, you get it. They showed you how these quarters was. Now, this takes me back. If you look at the slave trade in their little diagrams of saying, oh, they pack black people like sardines, head to toe, no play. This is exactly the conditions in which is actually physical photos of right? Not some drawing of white people being in conditions on these bunks inside these box carts, these trains. Okay, a sworn affidavit taken by DOJ officials. Again, this is another destiny swap. 1906, immigrant workers linked New York labor agents Jackson Company described. Okay, anybody got time that? Okay, Alabama reported that the armed. Okay, so here we go right here in Alabama. Okay, so at the Lockhart, at Lockhart, Alabama, and reported the armed guards brought us by steamer from New York to Savannah, where another agent of the company, a Negro, again, an agent of the company is a Negro who they had bring white Slavics, met us and took us by train to Milner, Alabama. From there, this Negro, who was a foreman for Smith and Company, took us by wagon to Lockhart, about 20 miles from Milner. Now, if you were a white supremacist and y'all believe in white superiority, why would he make a black man be a foreman over you? Wouldn't it be the other way around? I'll wait and digress. And that's why you have to do what Dane Camario said and dodge the hijack, because they're going to try to, after telling you this, they didn't like how it sounds, so they tried to keep implementing white superiority, which is BS. All right, because you wouldn't do it now. You don't have black cops over white communities. There's a reason for that. Okay, but I digress. Going on. Now, Frank and Miller shipped Randolph Wagner south to Savannah via steamship. And then by rail to Lockhart, Armonsky reported that, if I'm saying it wrong, excuse me, many of the armed Negro foremen, what white supremacist group would have armed Negro foremen over white folk if he's implementing white supremacy? Make it make sense. Come on back down. Stay with us. Who took them from Savannah deep into the wood, miles away from Lockhart, coerced workers, and deterred escape attempts. Remember how y'all said y'all did that to us? No, we did that to you. Okay? I'm just telling the truth. This was Negroes that did this to you. Coerced you not to escape, initiating them into violent social environmental relationships that characterize peonage labor camps. I'm just saying. So all this lies that you told. Armed guards took foreign workers to labor in what some describe as complete wilderness. Others arrived at railroad construction. This is why when they be like, oh, we black people are owed reparations, white people would be owed reparations. White people would be owed reparations if we're talking about slavery. Yet were there some black indentured servants? Very many. There were some, not nearly as many as there were white. But nevertheless, there were some. You would also be owed reparation. Hell, everybody would be owed reparations if we talking about indentured servitude based on the history in America. Everybody would be owed. Where black people ain't getting reparations because of no damn slavery. Reparation is because you burned our shit up, lynched our people, and stole their stuff and changed their identity. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Police brutality, the Jim Crow era, okay? All the millions of acres of lands that was stolen, businesses and money and banks, and the money that was stolen in the bank that was ours. From the post office, towns burned down and flooded that no longer is on even the map anymore. That's under lakes that you made with dead bodies of our people in it. Massacres that you committed of our people all throughout the United States. That's the reason for reparation. Ain't slavery, because you would be owed that. Just telling the truth. Armed guards took foreign workers to labor in what some describe as complete wilderness. Others arrived in railroad construction sites and boxcar quarters. Workers described the condition as a combination of intense heat, lack of provision, and heavy timber as hell. Okay? Treated like cattle. Inside the Jackson track, men worked alongside horses and mules, suffering the indignities and violence of chattel. In their reports to DOJ, workers conflated the statutes of men and beasts. Edward J. Stone reported bosses forced him and other workers to carry 200-pound railroad ties at gunpoint all day in the intense heat. John Gids, a Slavic worker, right, testified, the work was very hard and we were treated like cattle. Destiny swap much? When men refused, felt too weak to continue to work or attempt to escape, bosses and guards whipped them like oxen and beat them into submission. Remember, this is what you said you did to us, but based on this reading, this was what done to you, not us. This is your history. This is what really transpired with you, right? It says, when a young boy named Joe ran into the forest, 4 men brought him back and bloodied his face with a shovel. Yeah, that was horrible as hell. Labor foremen represented the primary threat to workers. Irvin depicts them as ignorant, illiterate men who only know the law of the jungle. Wood's boss, S.E. Higgins, embodied the forest landscape. Higgins, typically frontiersman, right? Irvin, he was probably born among the pines. All right, anybody got time for all of that? We're going to keep going. Okay? They claim this is of the 4 men. I doubt it. Transportation charges, bloodhounds. Okay? There's these laborers, these bloodhound, the company's bloodhounds. These are the dogs that they had to go get the laborers. Oxen, mules, danger of heavy, blah, 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 blah. All right. I'm just trying to, hold on, I'm going to pull up some. You lied the first time. There go laborers of the peon niche. All right, so it says, strange mixture. The diversities of worker, ethnic, and national background combined with white foremen, allegedly, right? Because we just read how it was a black foreman, but now they're saying it was white. And local black labor. Now they're trying to say, again, here go to switch. Now it's black labor and a white foreman when we just read that it was black, that it was a black foreman and white laborers. Again, here's the trickery and the BS. I'm not saying that there weren't. I'm saying that I don't think at this time. That's my own conjecture. Made the labor camps racially charged, right? And what I believe is having a black foreman and white laborers made the labor camps racially charged. All right? Witnesses did not acknowledge the local white laborers inside the camps. They didn't acknowledge them. However, some of them do appear in the record. Workers often traveled to work and ran off from the camps in ethnically homogenous groups, and their reports reveal ethnic racial discrimination. Foreman's violence, expressed labor hierarchy. Again, they're going to try to lie to you about white superiority. Nobody believes it. What no white supremacist group put a black man over a white man. So I don't believe you. You're just making that up. Most Anglo-Americans, North and South, did not consider immigrant workers from Eastern, Southern Europe to be white. Remember, again, white at that time still was a caste system. So it had nothing to do with hue of complexion. He was clearly white. These are the peons. We're going to read it at the bottom. Remoteness, so they didn't consider them wealthy. The remoteness and harsh environment facilitated the exploitation of foreign ethnic Southern black workers. The remoteness and harsh environmental facilitated the exploitation of foreign ethnic and Southern black workers. Okay, these are the peons, typical peons who testified in the federal court. Mind you, they tell you that these was black. These are the peons. White man, white boy, white men. These ones were speaking about the problems that they look at what he wearing. One would believe he all wealthy and owned something and was a business owner and know he was a worker. Okay? Okay, we can get to a third part of this. Okay? Because I'm trying not to be long, but there ain't no easy way to put this. Okay? Alexander, blah, 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 blah. All right. They said men called one camp the Dogo camp. Its large Italian element. Irvin points out the presence of separating quarters of work, writes that the town of Lockhart was divided racially by a small grove of pine trees and had separate white and black schools and churches. All right, so segregation was a thing. Okay, far as camp isolation, and we don't know if it always orchestrated by whites. All right, two Negroes and Irishman. And an Irishman. The hierarchies and peonage labor regimes reinforced generated conflict within ethnic groups. When one young Irish boy named McGuinness refused to sleep in a train car with a Greek worker, Gallagher, who expressed his ethnic pride by hanging Irish flags around camp, pistol whipped the boy into submission. All right, here they're going to start, we're going to have to dodge all hijacks and just understand this. Matter of factly, we were not called African American until 1988. So ain't no way in hell this article is going to have African American in it. Right? So once you see that, understand that they already told you one lie. There's several lies in this already. Because the moment you call us African American, why are you using that term? You know that that's a misnomer, and you know in the 1800s we weren't called African American. We actually weren't even called African American in the early 1900s or even in the mid 1900s. We were not called African American until 1988. So you wouldn't be called African American in this document. Right? So we just gonna go with American men, some of them also prisoners allegedly, to manage our guard. To manage or guard. So they took these brown-skinned men and made them guards over white men. So again, this contradicts them when they talk about white superiority. Because what white supremacist group would have black KKK members guarding and governing a bunch of white supremacists? Nowhere. So why would they turn around and put black guards over white men if white supremacy was a thing? I'll wait. Come on now. Make it make sense. Okay? Deep in the woods, black guards held coercive power over ethnic European workers. Let's say this to everybody in the back. Deep in the woods, let's highlight it. Deep in the woods, black guards held coercive power over ethnic European workers. The black foreman, I thought they said they was a white foreman. The black foreman, all right, we do understand that black people can also be European because there were black Europeans, okay? Anyway, foremen in the Jackson camps, but we just seen the peons, so I don't need to go back up, right? Anyway, going back down. Let's hope there we are. No. Okay, there we are. The black foreman in Jackson's camp, a trusty shooter. Okay, again, the black foreman in the Jackson camps and trusty shooters on the Mississippi Parchman farm represented modern counterparts to the black drivers of the antebellum plantation slave gang. Now, again, we can't be slaves because the word slave derived from Slavs, so they ain't talking about us. In referring to slaves, if you're trying to refer to us, it can't be. All right, so we were the drivers of the antebellum plantation gang. The presence of armed black guards made the camps particularly frightening to immigrants, laborers. Isn't this what you now do when you have police our communities? This tit for tat, right? The presence of armed black guards made the camps particularly frightening to immigrant laborers, but their presence did not. Okay, now they're about to enforce some fake ass white superiority. We ain't about to even go there. I'm going to ignore that every time they do that because this article contradicts white superiority. The moment you made the black man, the foreman, the overseer of white men, kind of just kills white supremacy. Like, make it make sense. Like, make it make sense. Workers testified that these Negro guards marched them from the trains into the forest. Okay, so clearly they were Negro. These Negro guards. Jacob Armansky reported that when men were unable to work anymore, the Negro whipped us. Say that to all the white folk in the back that lied about whipping black folk in the fake-ass slave trade, when it was in fact white people who were enslaved or indentured being whipped by black folk. Why y'all lie? This article ain't written by us. This is written by y'all. Why you lie? This is a historical document in Congress. This right here, because this is a lawsuit. Why'd you lie? The Negro whipped us. He whipped me several times. Remember them fake ass slave story? Oh, master sure did beat us good. Fake. You destiny swap. You took your story and gave it to us. This white man said these Negroes whipped us. He whipped me several times on my head, eyes, and back until I bled. I'm just saying. The practice of DeJourne segregation drew Irvin attention immediately upon entering Lockhart, but in the Pine Drifts, he met and worked alongside black Teamsters. Bob Anderson Gallagher repeatedly bailed Anderson out of jail for his drunkenness and added the cost to his contract, a familiar peonage tactic. He says, though workers of different races and ethnics lived and labored together, black workers, okay, then they're going to say we suffered specific violent treatment. There's no proof of that. Humiliation, Jim Crow laws. Oh, we know about the Jim Crow laws, South, whatever, whatnot, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. We'll get into the Jim Crow. Outside Lockhart, because a lot of it was just stealing of land and property. All right? Where whites, okay, I don't believe none of that. You could read that though. Worships metal pipes. I don't believe none of that. That's again them trying to assert some form of white superiority while simultaneously telling you that black people were literally the foremans guards over the white folk. But they still trying to push white supremacy. Like, come on now. Irvin described the camps in terms of white racism that labeled black. We can't be African American in that time, sweetie. Americans as ignorant and crude, while overlooking the resistance strategies. Okay, they were trying to. These Slavics were trying to resist and find strategy to escape. Okay, again, we 37 minutes in, y'all. I'm sorry. It says, in the Negro car, he encountered half a dozen men having card games and a group of singers around a banjo. Financial losses of the singers added color to the words of the song. From its interception, the blues dealt with toil, oppression, barrel house country blues music served at an emotional release. Okay, oppositional expression. Even Irvin exposed black suffering. He awkwardly expressed their situation as victimized labor and symbols of social disorder. Irvin offers evidence of white perceptions of their fellow black workers, and he said nothing that the white men spoke of. Niggers' inferiority. He adds that, which didn't make sense if they were over you. But all right, it says the nigger was doing the best work in camp, allegedly, right? Irvin reinforced notions of black workers as crude when he writes that particularly smutty story. Whites told would make even a Negro blush. Black workers' role in camps embody their crucial position in the labor regime, where whites perceive them as crude and peculiar and as victims of threats to the social order. Okay? And then this is just them. Again, some company executive bullshit. These were laborers. They always trying to do with laborers. These were laborers. Okay, y'all can go ahead and finish reading that article. But I just wanted to give you guys some context about the peonage and the slave trade and show y'all how all that shit that white people wrote, fake. about slave trade, fake. The time in which white people came, we weren't even enslaved. Okay, the time that white people came, if you're trying to say we African slave, foreign slavery was abolished in 1808. You know what I mean? And white people, as it said, didn't get here until the late 1800s. So, and were servants put to work. So when did you have time to own any slave? You were workers yourself. So this is just to punch a hole in that whole little thing. Y'all go ahead, take the time to read the rest. But anyway, this is Kendra with True S TV, y'all. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all. Stay up, stay blessed, okay? Put God first above all else. Peace out. Bye for now.